Hey disc golfers, welcome to episode 14 of Caddy Chat with Jake and Josh. I'm your host Jacob Artson, joined as always by Josh Wood. We're pumped to have you back here. We've got an action-packed week ahead.
Yeah.
What's on the episode today, Josh?
Today we'll give away that disc from last week. We had a little giveaway for all those who signed up to the West Coast Cup, so we'll be giving that away. We're going to talk about a new show coming called Leppy Duels. And then we're going to recap the Maricopa Open, which we made some predictions about last week. And we'll see how those turned out. And then we've got a special guest. Andrew Marwede is going to join us, who was out at the Maricopa Open and did quite well. So we'll hear from him. And then we're going to talk about our Dream 18. We're going to start with the front nine today. Of course, we'll talk about Goat Hill too. We'll make some predictions for next week's tournament or this coming weekend's tournament. And I think that'll about do it.
Beautiful. Well, I'm looking forward to the entire episode.
Me too.
We got some good stuff coming up. So first off, giveaway from last week. We got this beautiful pink ESP Swirl Scorch with the custom West Coast Cup stamp on it.
It's a sexy disc.
It's beautiful. And the lucky winner is Sarah Stern. So thank you so much for signing up, Sarah. She's registered to compete in the FA1 division. So look forward to watching her play, but also look forward to sending her this disc. So congratulations, Sarah. We look forward to seeing you in 2 months out at the West Coast Cup.
And we were hoping that whoever won this disc might win it with this disc.
Yes.
So
make sure you save it for the final hole when you bring home your championship.
That's right.
And finish the hole off with the Scorch here.
I hope it works out.
I hope so too. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, can't wait to see you. Congrats.
All right, next up, Leppy Duels is a brand new show we're releasing on our channel. We're really excited about it.
I'm excited about it.
Don't want to tease the guests yet. Those will come out later today when you guys are watching this, and we'll tease those throughout the week, and then we'll release that in a few days. So
I can't wait to find that out either.
Yeah, you have some insider knowledge, possibly, maybe, sort of. But the show is going to be a debate-style show with some head-to-head discussion about certain topics, disc golf related. It should be pretty intense.
It's kind of like a game show with debate points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll have a winner every episode. We'll expect, 30-minute or so episodes. Try and keep it to the point, but also keep you guys entertained and engaged, and also picking up some knowledge along the way. So we've got some esteemed guests lines up, and we're excited to host that show. Again, that's coming in the next couple days, so stay tuned to our social media for updates on that. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe to our channel so that you know exactly when those episodes are released.
Click that bell.
Yes. So next up, Maricopa Open was this weekend.
It was.
Down in Maricopa, Arizona. We made our predictions last week.
Yeah.
How'd your predictions go?
Mine weren't horrible. I got a couple of mine in the top three. So who did I say? I said I thought Hamas was going to win.
Yep.
I thought Marwede was going to come in second. And I was hoping that Noah would round out the top three. He did not. But Hamas and Marwede were second and third. Noah was 14th. But that's fine.
That's okay. That's all right. He had to come back down to earth after a fantastic tournament 2 weeks ago at
he'll be back
at Shelley Sharp. Yeah, he will definitely be back. But the guy that won the event,
the guy that we all counted
32 down on the weekend, we hated on him a little bit. We said he wasn't. We said he wasn't ready with his new Discraft discs. Anthony Barella played very well, led the entire weekend.
I wish there was some coverage. I really want to see that.
I wish that as well. It's too bad because to me, he deserves to have his first Discraft win documented.
Memorialized. Yeah, for sure. And I just love watching disc golf, and I was sad that I didn't get to watch any this weekend.
Yeah. So AB wins.
AB wins.
Andrew Marwede comes in second place, also a fantastic weekend. He was right behind Barella the entire time. And then coming out of nowhere, kind of that last round with a 9 under par was Adam Hamas. He came back from, I think, 9th place roughly.
Oh,
he climbed up several spots to crack into a podium finish there.
He was tied for 9th going into the final round.
So respect to him. But he kind of inconsistent, which doesn't really match up with what we said about that course. I mean, they're playing the same course 3 days in a row.
Right.
And, it's a course where as long as the weather is relatively consistent, you should see consistent scores from your top guys.
And it was. It was a calm weekend.
Yeah.
Sunshiny and no wind to speak of.
Yeah.
Wide open course for him to play on.
So really interesting.
So I'm a little surprised about that for sure.
Really interesting that it took him until the final day to kind of get going, get rolling, and climb up to the podium. But at that point, I mean, you're playing with guys like Marwede and AB, who, if they're in form, you're not going to catch them if you don't perform well enough the first 2 days. So they had kind of wrapped it up at that point. But yeah, he cracks the top 3, and then Connor Rock, local from Arizona.
Yeah,
we kind of touched on that last week. We said,
I almost picked him.
Yeah, maybe a local guy can make an impact here, and sure enough, he did.
Yeah,
so.
Way to go, Connor. That was a great 3 rounds.
Beautiful stuff.
Yep.
So that brings us to our second place finisher, Andrew Marwede. We are honored and excited to bring him onto the show here via the Freshwood phone line. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
So let's get into it. This past weekend, Maricopa Open, you took second. How was your preparation for the tournament, and how did you feel like the course going in played to your style?
Yeah, I had a lot of time to practice this course. There was a 2-week gap from Shelly Sharp, so the first week I didn't do too much practicing the course, just, putting and field work, whatnot, but had about 3 or 4 practice rounds, so I was pretty confident with this course. And this is another one of those courses where it's not too long of a course. There's definitely some long holes, and there's some 700-foot par 4s, but nothing that's really too out of reach. So it kind of played to my skill set where I didn't have to throw 500. All the long holes are about 400, which I can get most times. So, but it went pretty well.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we talked about last week. Was the holes are right in your wheelhouse. It's in a distance that you can reach, and there's a lot of great opportunities for sidearms, etc. And we also mentioned that it's the type of course at Copper Sky where if the weather cooperates, your performance on day 1 is pretty repeatable throughout the rest of the weekend. Did you find that to be true? Did you feel like after day 1 that the podium was pretty well set and that things were going to go pretty predictably?
It's hard to say after the first day podium for sure, because that's one thing with this course is there's definitely a lot of out of bounds, and not, to go along with that, not only is there a lot of out of bounds, but if I remember right, there's at least 3, maybe 2, like super dangerous island holes. Yeah. To where if you don't make the island, the drop zone, it's not much easier. So like you could just 1 to 2 simple mistakes, and you're taking a 6 or 7 to where you probably birdied it all 3 times in practice rounds. So yeah. But my game plan was pretty solid, and that was the one thing I was trying to do is not have a set score of what I was trying to get. It was pretty much just don't throw the disc out of bounds, and then you'll get your birdies.
You mentioned island holes. I was out at Copper Sky 2 years ago for that same tournament. Do they still have that one in the back corner of the park where you're kind of throwing along with the baseball field? I think on your left, kind of a tight tunnel, and they've got those light poles down the right side. It's only like 275-ish. Is that still a hole out there?
So that's still a hole. They made it harder. Okay. So this is my first time playing the event, so I'm not too familiar with the course beforehand, but he did say he made a significant amount of holes harder than in years past, and that was one of them. So that was a hole that was it was over 400 feet, and it played as like a double island. So you could go for the green, try to get your eagle, or what I did was just do the 200-foot pitch shot, try to get a birdie, because it was usually like headwind on that hole, so I didn't feel comfortable trying to throw it full distance shot just to try to get an extra stroke on the field. So yeah. But Barella was just out there throwing hyzers at it, so no problem for him.
Of course he was. All right, so round 3, you come in 2 AB, like you just mentioned, down by 4 strokes. But you came out fire hot, 10 of the first 12, which I looked at rounds 1 and 2, and you averaged 4.5 strokes under par on that same stretch the first 2 days. So you more than doubled that. You cut the deficit all the way to 1 going into hole 13. What was different, on that final day compared to the first 2 for you to come out significantly hotter than you did?
Yeah, so the first day was kind of hit and miss. Got some good birdies, a lot of missed opportunities. Second day was very minimal wind, so I didn't take advantage of the opportunities in the front 9, but I birdied the last 6 holes to finish round 2, which was a huge booster going to the round 3. And during final round, I think we teed off round 1 or so, and it wasn't very windy for the first third of the round. I was hitting all my lines. I didn't have to make too many big putts. They were mostly all in the circle. But once we got to the back 9 and around the other side of the park, it really started to pick up and wind. So I got some good birdies in some pretty windy situations. But the last hour of the round, that wind really picked it up and made it pretty difficult. But like you said, going into hole 13, I didn't check scores or anything, but I knew I was within 1 or 2.
Okay.
And it was a short island hole with a very, very heavily left to right wind. And the disc just, you throw it on hyzer and it finishes, right of where you started. It just didn't hyzer at all. So just didn't quite read the wind as well as I thought I could have. And 2-stroke swing kind of made it almost impossible to come back. It could have been possible, but made it much tougher.
Yeah, for sure.
Gotcha. Now, obviously you would have liked to win, but second place is still very respectable, especially to a player like Anthony Barella. For you, what kind of confidence did you take? Because we haven't really talked about 2 weeks ago at Shelly Sharp, where you really impressed a lot of people, especially winning by 6 strokes against, not a super deep field, but several good players. What confidence did you take from that into this? Like, did that weigh on your mind at all? Did that impact how you approach this tournament in general?
Yeah, I would say it definitely gave me more confidence. Usually when I go into it A tier, especially if it's out of state, sure, you hope to win, but it's not like you're saying, I better win. If not, you're super disappointed. That's always the goal. But I felt going into this weekend, I had a pretty good shot, with most of the same competitors as Shelly Sharp.
Yeah.
A couple didn't play, a couple new guys played, all that kind of sort of stuff. But after playing the course a couple times, quickly realized my game plan, went pretty well with this course. And I knew a lot of the holes were attackable, just like Shelly Sharp was. And the holes that I knew I couldn't, go super aggressive, I think playing it smart was the move. And as long as the putter stays hot, like it usually does, it's always a winning recipe. So,
yeah. Yeah. And you've been with DGA just a year now. So, talk about how that whole new sponsorship experience is, and ultimately, what extra confidence do you have going into this year, knowing your bag a little better than you did last year and being more comfortable with your discs now this year?
Yeah, being with DGA has been great. They're everyone over at the factory and at the warehouse, I guess I should say, is super friendly, super communicative, super supportive. It's been awesome. And then especially after throwing these discs for just over a year now, I got some really nice broken in drivers and fairways. And if anyone knows me and how I like to play disc golf, I like some flippy stuff, to hyzer flip forehands. Not too much this weekend because of the wind and just the style of the course, but knowing my discs in my bag a little bit better is always going to help improve your score. So
yeah.
But been loving all the discs, my signature putter, the Stone Steady BL, the splatter plastic has been awesome for me. So having a putter in a specific plastic made for me has been pretty sweet, and I've been loving it. So everything's going pretty great with that.
Awesome.
Good. So a lot of confidence.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
Another big sponsorship announcement for you was this past month. It was announced the signing extension with Great Lakes Disc here in Michigan. Why is that particular partnership so important to you? And then what sets Great Lakes Disc apart from other retailers across the country?
Yeah, so that was a huge thing that me, Shay, and Brian, discussed and went forward with. I think the relationship there has always been super personal. I've known those guys for 5-ish years, by now, playing a bunch of local tournaments. Before I even started touring, I knew them, and Shea wanted me on the team, one of the first few times that I met him, and, they're both such great guys, and it's a great store that's, if you've followed Great Lakes Discs in the past few years, they're always improving. They got a new store. They're always, making room for more discs, and they're, have a whole section on the other side of their store that they're still working on to always improve and make better. And if you know how much they run, tournaments and clinics and all that kind of stuff in Michigan, obviously I'm a Michigan boy, so that's kind of where my heart is. And we all three of us kind of knew, I wasn't going to leave. They weren't going to drop me. So let's go big. Let's sign for 5 more years.
Nice.
I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. So when I do think of you as a player, Andrew, I generally think of a really good forehander. That's your bread and butter, right? And not just power, but angle manipulation, like you're talking about with your hyzer flips and accuracy. And of course, the pro tour putting champion for 20 years now. It feels like it. You're a great putter, so I think you're putting too. But how would you describe yourself as a player? And what lessons do you hope that the fans can take home from you?
Yeah, I think you nailed it pretty spot on. Obviously no one's going to talk about the Andrew Marwede backhand anytime soon, but it's a work in progress. But
the backhand roller?
Yeah, exactly. I threw a couple good ones at Shelly Sharp, but besides the point, it's definitely, forehand and putting for me. Forehands always came super easy. When I started, I used to pinch the disc. I didn't even hold the disc with any fingers underneath the rim, and I was still chucking it 300 feet or so. So I've been known for my classic one-finger forehands that I know some people do, but it's not very common. It works for me, and that's all that matters. And putting kind of came later on after a couple of years of playing, and I'm a huge guy of repetition. So that's that. Once I got the hang of that, it's been saving me strokes for years now on tour. So
yeah.
But yeah, with those two things, that's kind of all my game plan really needs.
Just real quick too, what do you attribute your great putting to? How long do you practice every day? Is that it? Is it just the practice? Is it something else that you put into that to become such a great putter?
I wish I could say I practice as much as I'd want to, but realistically, I don't practice, that much more than the average person. I do love practice putting, but if I'm doing a practice round for a tournament, I'll stay at that basket and putt 4 times. So that's not a huge deal. I would say most of the success strives from mentality. Even you talk to most players, after they miss like a 15, 20-foot putt, they turn around to their card mates like, "Oh, I knew I was going to miss that." It's like, why would you ever think that you were going to miss that putt before stepping up to it? So usually, 95 times out of 100, if I walk up to a putt, I know I'm going to make it. Whether that be the case or not, it doesn't really matter. As long as, at least I thought or I knew I was going to make it beforehand. Yeah. That's going to give you a better, percent chance to make that putt. Even though, the science, won't back it up, but disc golfers know that's definitely the truth.
Yeah,
confidence
for sure.
is everything for putting.
Can't disagree with that at all. All right, so 2 weeks until Vegas, roughly. That's where you kicked off last year's season. You took 49th. I'm sure you would have liked to be, finish higher up the table there. But brand new bag is how I look at last year. You've, like Josh asked, and you kind of answered a couple minutes ago, you've broken in that bag. You've gotten the discs where they need to be. You're comfortable with them. How has your mindset or approach changed this year heading into the Las Vegas Challenge?
Heading into LVC, I'm a little more confident. Obviously, that course in specific, but most of the first swing of tour doesn't really play to my strong suits. Having nice beat up discs is wonderful, but when it's 25 mile per hour winds and you're playing holes that are 500 feet, it doesn't really do me a whole lot of good. But it's nice to been out in Arizona for 3-ish weeks now. It'll be over a month before I start the tournament, getting that extra practice in, making sure I'm ready. And I think most of it's going to be sticking to the game plan, not trying to go for the win. making sure I stay in bounds, make my putts, and I should be striving for, a top finish. But whatever happens. I'm just, ready to start the Pro Tour season already.
Absolutely.
Yeah, me too.
You get your points where you can, and you
ready.
move on to the course that supports your style.
Yeah.
For the fans around the country that love Andrew Marwede, how can they support you and your disc golf journey?
There's definitely a few ways. Obviously, the biggest supporter is, buying discs with my name on it. There's a ton nowadays. So, of course, you got, from DGA, they're always got the Splatterstone Steady BL, which is only available at Great Lakes Discs. They're doing a new run this year, which they should be shipping out to, retailers here pretty soon. And then, of course, the Tour Series. Last year's was the Hurricane. This year is going to stay the same, so that should be released pretty soon. But pretty much any place that sponsors me has something of mine that they sell to support them, and as well, obviously, me. So I guess just to list my sponsors right now and thank them, that would be DGA, Great Lakes Disc, Squatch, and Mitten Bags. So they've been huge supporters of me. So if you want to check those out and support both of us, that'd be awesome.
Beautiful.
Very nice.
Well, that's all we got for you, Andrew. Thank you so much for joining us here on Caddy Chat, and we look forward to watching you in a couple weeks at Las Vegas Challenge, but more importantly, the rest of the season in general.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew.
Awesome. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks again, Andrew, for joining us on the Freshwood phone line. Pleasure talking to him.
Yeah,
great
always.
Player and a good dude. So that is it's an honor to have him on the show.
Yeah.
So let's fast forward 1 week down the road here in San Diego, or over by San Diego, the challenge at Goat Hill.
Yeah.
Let's make some quick predictions for that before we jump into our main segment here to end the show. You got any predictions for us, Josh?
I got tons of predictions, but first I kind of wanted to see what the weather was.
That is a good thought.
It's Oceanside, California.
Yep.
And
right near San Diego, so it should be nice.
It's going to be beautiful. 7 mile an hour wind, but 60s and 70s.
Perfect disc golf
I bet
conditions.
you it's kind of chilly. That sounds chilly right next to the ocean, to be honest.
I would take it.
But I
would take it in a heartbeat.
Yeah. So here's the top 4 rated players: Eagle McMahon, Drew Gibson, Luke Sampson, Albert Tam. So
the story here is Eagle McMahon.
Yes.
Hands
my
down.
first prediction is Eagle's going to win. I don't think he's going to come out slow. I think he's going to come out shooting and slinging and left and right and sidearms and balling, and I think he's going to win by a large margin.
That was going to be my next question.
Yes.
Do you think he wins in a landslide?
I do, and I think the battle to watch, I think, is going to be Drew and Luke. Luke Sampson's been playing great the last year or so. Drew Gibson, I love to watch him play, and when he's playing well, he's a lot of fun to watch. But I can't say that I can always predict in a specific tournament if he's going to come out shooting really well or if he's going to have a bad round.
Yeah, so, a bit of a roller coaster.
But I'm going with him.
Okay.
So right there in order, I'm going to go Eagle, Luke, Drew.
Okay. It's hard to argue with.
I know.
But I'm actually going to say Eagle has to knock some rust off. And I think him and Drew are going to be in a battle.
Okay.
It could go either way, but to differentiate myself from you here in the picks,
okay,
I'm going to go Drew Gibson, Eagle McMahon second, and then I'm going to go Albert Tam taking third. And I picked Albert last week to take third.
Yep.
He took fifth at the Maricopa Open. I think that trend continues. I think he's right there. Okay. The other one I want to give a shout out to is Gavin Babcock.
Yes.
Switching over to Discmania. So he's got something to prove. I think for that reason, I don't want to pick him because he's still experimenting with new plastic.
Yep.
But I think
he's a good one too, though.
I think he's one to watch.
Yeah.
And Eric Oakley's there. He's a bigger name. He just hasn't done a whole lot recently.
What have you done for me lately, Eric?
Yeah. Eric, come on, man.
But he could at any moment.
He could. He has
put together
talent.
3 great rounds and smoke everybody.
He has the talent to pop off.
For
but
sure.
when you look at the Goat Hill course, wide open, bomber course, you have to look at the guys that can throw far and make a couple putts.
And Luke and Albert, really all 4 of them.
Drew, Eagle, Luke, Albert, and that's why I mentioned Gavin, because he can throw far.
He can.
So
Farther than me.
Farther than both of us probably combined.
Probably.
To be honest. At least Drew and Eagle for sure. So yeah, those are our picks. Not a whole lot of differentiation there, but
no.
It is what it is.
And I hope there's coverage.
Yes, I hope that as well. All right, so those are our picks for Goat Hill Challenge. Look forward to watching that. You guys can keep an eye on that at home as well. Follow those scores live. That'll be very curious, especially on the Eagle McMahon front.
Yeah.
Especially on that front. All right. The main event for this episode, audience suggested feedback suggested we talk about a Dream 18 of sorts. This was suggested specifically by Mr. Ryan Kenny, so thank you, Mr. Ryan Kenny.
Yeah, thanks, Kenny.
What a guy. But thanks for this idea. What he said in his comment was, you can go all the way north from where we are right now in West Michigan, in the Holland area. You can go all the way north to Flip City.
Mm-hmm.
You can go all the way south to South Haven and Lake Arvesta. And you can go all the way west past the Grand Rapids area to Hammond Hill. Those were kind of the stipulations that Kenny set for us. So we wanted to adhere to that. So we kind of drew a circle, a 50 to 55 mile radius around where we're at. For those of you that are not from Michigan and don't know what we're talking about, you can just draw a 50 or so mile circle around the Leprechaun Hollows course, and that's kind of the area of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So those were our stipulations from Kenny, so we wanted to adhere to that because we appreciated the comment. And so we got to work, and we built ourselves the front nine portion of a West Michigan Dream 18.
Yeah.
And next week, obviously, we'll do the back nine. So stay tuned for that for sure.
And the way that you said that, I just want to point out, it sounded like there's a lot of teamwork that went into this, but we actually made our own lists.
That's a good point. Yep.
We did not make a Dream 18. We each made a Dream 18.
There are two Dream 18s we're going to throw at you.
And I am going to throw this caveat. I know we talked about whether or not to say this, but I'm going to say it because if you draw that circle, there's only, out of 50 or 60 courses, I've only played about 10 of them. I don't travel a lot for disc golf. I went up to Flip City just this year. September was the first time I ever played there. It was one round during states. Arvesta I've been to a couple of times. That's a beautiful course. I could just put that whole course on my Dream 18 because it really is gorgeous. And a bunch of them in between I've never played, so I'm going to do my best. But
you wanted to throw that caveat in there.
I did. I want to throw that caveat. So if you don't like mine because I didn't pick one off a course you love, it's probably because I haven't played it.
But still let us know.
But let me know. Let me know how I can round it out. And if you want to start some sort of GoFundMe to send me around the state playing other disc golf courses, I would be happy to do that. So
yeah, it's never a bad thing to get sent to get paid to play disc golf.
That'd be pretty neat.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Josh.
That'd be a dream something.
That's a dream for sure.
Dream
in
job.
Itself.
Yeah.
All right.
So do you want me to go first, or are you going to go first?
Take us away. You set the tone here.
All right.
Show them.
I'll set the tone.
What we're doing.
First hole one. I picked Fallsburg. I picked that one. It's actually one of my favorite courses in West Michigan. Out of all the courses that we're going to talk about, Fallsburg is one of my favorite all-time courses. And hole one I like because it's a par 4. And for my arm speed, it's the kind of hole where I can really let loose on a drive with a distance driver. And then on my second shot, I can really give a good pull on a fairway driver and then have a good putt for my birdie. So you kind of get that all-in-one warm-up. Mm-hmm. You're throwing all the shots kind of. You're, getting all distances kind of dialed in. And I love that about that hole. And I love that I can do all those things and still get a birdie.
Now, how do you feel about the green on that hole?
I think it's tough. I mean, what do you got, like 10 feet behind the basket before you're just in the thick of things and buried? Yeah, but because of the distance, I'm usually on my upshot, coming up short, not long, so it doesn't really bother me. I think it's a tight green for sure, but a lot of them are at Fallsburg.
Fair enough.
A lot of dangerous greens at Fallsburg. Hole number 2, and I hope I got this right because I only played there once. Flip City. Now, if I'm not mistaken, this is the one where you've got probably 3 to 350 just to get kind of up to the edge of the wood line
Yep.
and over that road. So you've got this great, beautiful shape. It's wide open, so you can shape just about anything you want to get it down there, 350. And then a fairly technical little upshot. There's a lot of different ways you could do it, but it's a lot of trees in between you and the basket. But again, a par 4 where you get rewarded with a birdie if you get 2 good shots up there. And it's a beautiful hole as well. So I love that about it.
It is gorgeous.
Mm-hmm. So that's my hole 2. Hole 3. Hole 3, I've got Hammond Hill. And so this is another one where, is this a par 4 or is this a par 3? This is a par 3, I think.
It's a 3, yeah.
But it's just, again, a really beautiful shot coming out of the woods, out into the open and hyzering back down toward the basket. Also with a bit of a death green.
Absolutely.
So it's one where you really have to think, if I'm not in the circle on my drive, am I going to lay it up?
Mm-hmm.
Because you miss by an inch and you're going 50 feet.
And I think that's the defining factor of a good hole to a great hole.
Mm-hmm.
It can be visually appealing and shaped correctly, but yeah, the risk reward and decision
huge.
making.
In fact, even if you're at 30 feet, you might contemplate laying it up.
Yep.
So great hole at Hammond. One of my favorites. Hole 4, I went with Whitehall. We have pictures of these, right? People are looking at them.
They're looking at it.
Oh, nice. I like I like hole 4 at Hammond because it's a tricky little downhill 350, I think, with a little hazard in front of it. So there's a lot of things that can go wrong on that shot, but you really just want to pump something down, even on hyzer probably. That's just going to ride on hyzer for a while and get around the turn and hope that you don't end up in that hazard.
Mm-hmm.
And then probably still have a pretty good long putt to try to get your birdie. It's just a fun hole to play. It's always fun to throw downhill.
It is. It's a different type of shot that you don't always get to throw.
Yeah. And that one's subtly downhill enough to where it just makes for a great looking shot as it's flying down the fairway. So.
Hammond Hill, number
Hammond
4.
Hill.
All right, number 5, Josh.
Number 5, I went with Leprechaun Hollows. Current layout. Active layout. This was a new hole this year.
Yeah. And
almost instantly one of my favorite holes on the course for sure, but maybe in West Michigan. Because I found the cheat code, or at least a fun shot to throw on that hole that got me a lot more looks than most people, because I'm going to guess that the feedback from that hole is probably 90% negative. I heard a lot of people hating on that hole this year.
Yeah, 80 to 90% of people when it initially went in did not appreciate it. Yeah.
But I laid down a nice little backhand roller through the trees that oftentimes got up there for a look at eagle. And I love it. I love that hole.
We're glad you love it.
Yeah, thanks. So Leppy gets a shout out there, hole 5. There's actually a lot of holes I like at Leprechaun. But it's really hard to narrow it down and say, that's my favorite hole number 2 ever.
Yeah.
Or hole 7 or hole 8. So hole 6 at Brewer is another one of my favorites. This one probably a little bit for nostalgia.
Because even when they redesigned it, 3 years ago, it's still very similar to what it was.
It is, but I'm thinking further. Back in the 90s, we used to play this hole backwards. It was hole 9, I believe, that would end in that back corner where we're now teeing off on hole 6. So there's just something about that whole corridor down that side of the park in that corner that's just nostalgic. And the way it is laid out right now, whether it's gold or red, it's a really fun shot to throw. And it's a really fair hole, I think.
Absolutely, yes.
Really gets tight up by the green, low ceiling, but you've got that hill for a backstop. But very skippy ground. A lot can happen.
And to get an eagle, you need to do something
absolutely
goodness. Spectacular.
Has it happened?
I'm sure it has, because I've seen people get long circle 2 looks at.
Really?
It. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a great eagle to get. So definitely a super fair par 4, I think. Hole 7, Lake Arvesta.
Why'd you choose Lake Arvesta for hole 7?
There are a lot of reasons. Number one, there are several hole 7s that I like. But I'm trying to mix it up a little bit and make sure I'm not just saying all from this course, unless it's Arvesta, because I love Arvesta. But hole 7 again is a beautiful shot and really well framed, I think, by the road OB on the right. You got a pretty tight window to get into the woods if you're going straight into it. The basket's set back far enough into the woods that it's just framed really nice. It's another beautiful shot. And it's a fun one. It's a fun one to get a birdie on.
Perfect. Go play Lake Arvesta.
Yeah, you should go play. Have you played there?
I have not.
Oh.
So it is not on my list.
Interesting. Let's go. Can we videotape around there this spring?
We probably can.
Okay, let's do that. Number 8, I'm going back to Whitehall. And this is, so there's probably a theme here that a lot of my favorite holes are par 4s. I really love par 4s.
Nothing wrong with that.
Good, because I like them. And Whitehall.
And we don't have a whole lot of par 4s in West Michigan.
We don't in Michigan at
so
all.
That's important to note as well.
Yeah, Michigan golf, I think, has a reputation of being par 3.
Par 3 woods golf.
Yeah, par 3 woods golf.
Yep.
Which is fine. But I love my par 4s. And Whitehall, hole 8, is one of my favorites. This is the one where you're standing up on the podium tee box, right? And it's an uphill shot. Well, it goes down a little bit, then it's quite uphill, trying to get to the basket. And it's just a really tough shot to get the right angle on because of the change in elevation, because of the tight hallway. It's a kind of a wide hallway, but you get off and you're tight. The tight rough, it makes for a challenging hole every time. And again, a really fun shot to throw and to get right.
All right, wrap it up. What's hole 9?
Hole 9, I went with breakers.
Okay.
Because I think it's fun on the turn to have just a fun little par 3 that is aceable and that's just fun to run at. And that even if you miss, you're probably going to be in the circle and have a nice little birdie to head back to the back 9.
Did the water play factor in that decision at all?
A little
Is it
bit.
Fun to throw over the water?
It is. It's a little, 225 foot over the water. The water's been low for years, so really you've got 50 feet between water and basket. It's a fun shot.
My question for that hole, Josh, is if the water was not there, would it make your list?
No.
Okay, so the water is very prevalent in your decision.
Yeah,
because the shot itself is not, like the throw itself is not special. The water is what makes it special.
Kind of.
Okay.
Kind of. Yeah. Because it's not like the water should really come into play.
No, it shouldn't come into play. Yeah, it's 175 feet over the water?
Yeah.
To crest the water?
Yeah. I'm not saying I've never gotten one in that water. I'm just saying it shouldn't come into play.
Fair enough. All right.
So there's my front 9.
Thank you for your list, Josh.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So you guys at home, again, if you agree with something or if you think, hole 6, absolutely not Brewer Park, it should be something else, let Josh know. He would love to know. Because, again, like he said, he hasn't played every course. And I'm sure you guys haven't played every course, but I'm sure you've played courses that he hasn't played. So
now, can we take a road trip and just go to Fallsburg, play hole 1, drive to Flip City, play hole 2?
Yeah, in that order, for sure.
Yeah.
Really economical, for sure. Before we go any further, I want to give a shout out to Crew 42 for letting us borrow the drone, some of these drone shots. Appreciate them allowing you guys to see a visual. And they've filmed plenty of tournaments around the area.
Yeah.
So go check out their channel. Absolutely. They've got some good stuff on there, good coverage. And thanks again to Crew 42. So wanted to make that note before I jump into mine here. My Dream 18 West Michigan front 9, hole 1, I went with Hammond Hill.
Okay.
I think it's a unique way to start your round. You're up on an elevated hill, throwing down through a tight tunnel.
Yeah.
the tunnel is very tight.
Very tight.
And like you said, throwing downhill is always a fun shot for whatever reason. And throwing down a tight corridor to start your round from pretty decent elevation change from tee pad to pin location.
Yeah.
But yeah, that sticks out for me.
It's got to be 80 foot downhill.
Yeah, it's a good size change. It's a hike to get down. I think you kind of got to take the switch back down the side of the hill.
If you're going that way, yeah, there's another path, but yeah.
Don't break your leg on your way. All right, hole 2. I agree with you, Josh. Flip City.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Like you said, 320 foot open shot to start the hole. If you shank one bad enough on the right side, you've got the house over there with a little rock garden that you could technically go OB on. And if you shank one really bad, you can get the road on the left. But pretty much dealer's choice off the tee. How far can you get it into a position to attack the pin on your second shot? And yeah, the tree's guarding it after the first 320 for the final 180 to 250 of the hole. It's beautiful, but there's gaps to hit. It's a fair hole, but a tough hole to get in 3 for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always feel good about getting my 3 there. So I've never two'd it, but I'm sure somebody has with probably laying down a roller.
Oh yeah, I thought about it. I did get my 3 for States, but I thought about the roller.
Yeah. So hole 2 at Flip, we are in agreement on that.
Nice.
Hopefully you guys are too. Hole 3, I went with Shore Acres. It's an interesting shot.
Yellow or black?
Yellow. I
hate
can't
that
stand
hole.
black. No offense there, but I can't stand the black at Shore Acre hole 3. But
Well, I can't imagine why, as a predominantly side-armed. It's the same exact reason I hate yellow.
that's fair. But hole 3 at Shore, you're throwing uphill through a pine tree corridor that kind of bends left, then pushes straight ever so briefly, and then finishes hard right. There's a very steep cliff, 15 feet past the basket and to the right of the basket.
And pretty much all the way along the right side of the
down the
fairway.
whole right side of the fairway.
Yeah.
Pretty steep. So if you hit early and go off to the right, generally your disc doesn't just sit where it lands. It continues pushing downhill, either rolling or just floating and bouncing down the hill. Tough hole, cool shaped hole, interesting shot that you don't get to throw on a whole lot of courses. The uphill flexing sidearm, or in some cases, your precision backhand players will throw really technical kind of flip up, turnover, and drift shot to get themselves
late turn, a
25 footer. But yeah, interesting hole, fun hole. That's my hole 3. Hole 4, I went with Ashtamo. Actually, you know what? I'll just say hole 5 as well.
4 and 5. I wish I could remember which holes those were, because
5.
That was a beautiful course. There were a lot of holes I really loved on that course, but I can't remember them.
So hole 4, you're throwing kind of elevated again. Not kind of. You're throwing elevated again. The tee pad itself is on kind of the same level as the basket. But you're throwing kind of down over a valley. Then you finish up. Open hole, but you have to hit the initial gap. There's a big tree kind of down to the left. But yeah, it's really pushing forward as far as you can and then pitching up to try and get the hole in 3. I'm sure power throwers can get looks for 2. That's not me. But it's a beautiful hole with a beautiful shot off the tee and a very respectable 3 when you can get it. So that's hole 4, and then followed up immediately by hole 5, which to me is the signature hole at Ashtamo, par 4. Beautifully carved fairway. You've got a clean grass fairway going through the woods. Decently heavy rough on both sides. Josh is moving the table. But decently heavy rough on both sides. And it snakes into a big S, wraps around at the end. Basket kind of tucked behind some trees at the end of like a question mark shaped hole. Really fun shot. Well, 2 shots. It's definitely a par 4. But again, feels great when you get the 3. And yeah, that sticks out for me as hole 5.
Okay.
And I think when you get the chance to play it again from longs,
that's true.
I think you'll I think you might bump out Leprechaun Hollows 5 for this one.
Okay.
Potentially. But we'll see.
All
right, hole 6, Brewer Park. I agree with you.
Yeah.
It's hard to argue that one. You've got the 2 mature trees to split off the tee.
Yep.
It takes a good shot to push up and in there. Then the second shot is technical. You've got 2 or 3 gaps to choose from depending on where you land.
Yep.
And then finishing with a slightly uphill green. Beautiful hole. Technical shot. Yeah, I love that hole. It's a great hole. Hole 7, I went with breakers. Long hole.
I thought about it.
Long hole. I had some issues picking a hole 7 on the list in the first place, but the reason I went with breakers is because of the shape of the hole and the difficulty of it, all kind of encompassed into one. It's a really good 3.
Yeah.
You can get it in 2 and you feel like a hero.
Yeah.
But it's also a hole that can bite you. But it's a placement shot with power, and I like those holes.
And that's one of 2 holes at that course where there's a tree smack dab in the center within 50 feet of the tee pad.
And that's my only issue with it, but I think the rest of the hole shapes up to still make my list.
Yeah, no, it's fun. It's a fun hole.
All right, hole 8. I went with Leprechaun Hollows. People always ask me what's the signature hole at Leppy. I always say the Island, hole 16, and hole 8.
Yeah, it's got to be hole 8.
I say hole 8. I think visually the Island sticks out, or fun-wise maybe.
Maybe.
Or just bad,
yeah, 8's a great hole.
Memories. But yeah, 8 is my signature hole out there. Long par 4 down a tunnel, tight gap to hit at the end of a 310, 15-foot tunnel.
You got 310 feet to get to the gap that you have to hit and make a 45-degree turn and head another 80 to 100 feet
uphill. Yeah, gorgeous hole. We encourage all of you to come out and play at some point. Maybe at the West Coast Cup.
I think, do we have on camera on this channel?
We do.
Reed Fresquera hitting the basket?
We do.
For an almost albatross?
Yes. Go watch that. Skins Match 1.
Ace on a par 4.
From 2021. Yeah, Reed Fresquera almost cans the most ridiculous shot I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it was a great shot.
So go watch that.
Yeah.
And hole 9, wrapping up my Dream 18 front 9, is Paw Paw Park.
This is the one. Oh, yeah. See, I thought about that one. I looked at it. I considered it. And then I said, no, wait. Not a chance.
It's basically Breakers hole 9 that Josh said, just a real size hole.
Yeah, only twice as long and still a par 3.
A real life version
of
Josh's
420
mini
feet?
putt choice for hole 9.
Yeah.
No, it's, And all jokes aside, it's like 410, 415 feet. Over water the whole time.
350 to carry the water.
If not more.
Yeah.
It takes a pump to get over the lake. There's a bailout zone on the right for people that want to chip their way up there. 200 feet to get up there. So I really like how that's designed. It gives you a chance to play safe. But it's so tempting to try and rip one. And then you end up throwing your disc in the pond and you never see it again.
Yeah.
So high risk, high reward, fun shot. Love that hole. Don't love that entire course, but I love that hole. So there's that.
I actually do like Paw Paw. It's a nice course if they could keep it clean and be nicer about us using it.
That's my issue with it. But that hole's always clean, so.
Yes.
You don't have to worry about it because 90% of it's water.
Yep.
But yeah, that wraps up my front 9. Same thing I said about Josh's. Throw some comments at us. Let us know what I missed.
Yeah.
Let me know what you agree with. Toss your whole front 9 Dream 18 from this area in there. And we had fun with this one. So we look forward to doing the back 9 next week and entertaining you guys that way as well. Oh, and before we forget, we need more topics to talk about.
Yeah.
After we do the back 9 next week. So leave us a message, leave us a comment on that as well. What's some discussion, comments, topics, questions you've got, things you want to hear us answer?
Yeah, and it could be controversial. It doesn't have to be. It could be fun. anything really. We'll argue about anything because that's the kind of people we are.
We'll break it down.
Yeah.
We'll fight it out live on camera. All right, but that wraps up our episode here.
Oh, but if
Episode
Pluger's
14.
listening, it's not live.
Not live, Craig Pluger.
We don't do this at 5 a.m. on Wednesday.
Yeah, or maybe we do. Wink, wink. All right, that wraps up our episode 14. Thanks for watching. That's all I got.
Yeah, thanks for watching. I had a lot of fun putting together this front 9 and can't wait to do the back 9. So, yeah, we'll see you next week. And until then, keep your head in the game.